Okay, we're live, fellas, and welcome Four Color fans to another episode of Graders Notes. This kooky quartet is once again taking on one of those really strange amalgamation of character issues. We did a DC versus Marvel, and we've done a few others like Razor, etc., that are a little bit out there. And today we're doing another one of those. Now, let me just say that you guys, not you guys here on the show, and you guys out there in the community chose this one. I had 4 choices, pared it down to 2. Last fortnight, pared it down to this one.
Good day.
So I'm just going to put that proviso out there, okay? So let's introduce the show real quick. I know you guys have been, here with us. You guys have been loyal supporters for the years that we've been on here, but let's go through to my immediate this way, that way. We have that way. We have Kenny Comichead 84. How you doing, Kenny? Say hi to these fine folks out there.
I'm doing fantastic. Glad to get back together with the boys for some Graders Notes action. Very, like we were saying, behind the scenes here. Yeah, I've been, streaming a little less lately, but that makes the Graders Notes hangout that much more special. I always look forward to it.
Amen. Yeah, that's and we're honored that even though you're busy and you're yet you at least you find time for us, and we appreciate it because we've been buddies for years now, and man, it just wouldn't be the same without you. Let's put it that way.
Thank you.
Speaking of wouldn't be the same without him, let's go right below you there to but let's go up to Canada. Mr. Miracle Comics, the man who draws away when we're, espousing our opinions. And he has, of course, the best undervalued comic show on YouTube. How are you doing there, Dave? Say hi to these fine folks.
Hello, fine folks. Yeah, man, I'm drawing, but I'm very intently listening to what you guys are saying, right? Maybe I don't participate enough in the chat when I do that, but yeah, what are you going to do? I like to draw. I like to do these things. This book, though, let's talk about this book.
Well, a little bit of a tease, perhaps, about what Mr. Miracle thinks about this one. But before we get to that, let's get to the originator, the progenitor, the brainchild behind this phenomenon that is Graders Notes. Right under me here, my good friend, my brother, Genome Presents. How you doing, buddy?
Good. And just so you know, Dave, this is followed up with the slightly less successful Deathstroke meets Fred Flintstone. So, yeah, but take it for work. This is the progenitor, as he says about these kind of books. But hey, great to be here, everyone. It's gonna be a fun night as always when I get together with my crew. Great working with everybody, as we have been doing for well over a year now, probably a year and a half at this point. So Good times will be had by all. Amen.
I do believe so. All right. So let's get into the rules just for any of you guys that are new, and then we'll get to the chat, shout them out. Then we're going to go full force into this tour de force. All right. So we're going to grade this comic on essentially 5 categories. We're going to look at the cover, dissect that. We're going to look at the story, break that down for you, look at the interior art. We're going to give you our opinion on that as well. Then we look at the concept, what is the behind the scenes things behind this comic, right? How did it come about? And is it something that was novel? It was something that was creative, or was it something that was just a moneymaker? But there are many other avenues you can take that as well. And then we'll do the overall grade. After each category, we're going to ask you, the 5th grader, what your grade is. Scale of 0 to 5 with half points in between. Please, no, Pythagorean theorems, no equations, just a number, okay? A point, a decimal, 0.5, or 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's it.
A squared plus B squared equals C squared, baby.
Yeah, please. I'm getting old now, and the brain cells are dying at an alarming rate. So if I have to think about that, I may not be able to come in, as clear as I try to be, at least. But before we do that, let's get into this chat, because this is one of my favorite parts, right? To see our buddies here that support us week after week. In right at the beginning here was Jackson Roy Kirk, one of the moderators extraordinaire and chat superstar, Chop and Drop 2013, who is up and coming chat superstar. He watches all my videos. I see him on so many streams. Jerry the Jitterbug, my buddy over there, Jerry, who's like he is a wizard when it comes to actually making comics, taking comics that are just like dogs and making them pedigrees. It's just he has an amazing talent for rescuing and conserving comics. Then of course we have our buddy Biggie, New World Order Comics, NWO. I'm sure there he is. As long as it's not a Kirby book, I think we're good. And of course, we have our best pinch hitter in the land, Unruly Simeon, Creator's Notes, solid slugger when it comes to when one of us is out. You know what I mean? And in Comic Books NYC, Kavi, who's doing now, he has his own site and he's selling and he's original art shows. I mean, just Kavi is just skyrocketing in the community, shall we say. Some guy named Comichead put a few wrenches in there. I don't know what that guy's
Probably metric too, knowing that guy.
I tell you. And we have the Simply Incredible podcast in here as well. Thank you for coming by. Small Town Collectibles, welcome, buddy. This is somebody everybody should be sub to. He's a big into growing the community. He's big into the growing together movement. Somebody wants to put a link in there. One of my moderators, I would appreciate it, for Chop and Drop and for Jerry and for Small Town Collectibles. All right. So let's get into it, guys, because we only have so much time here before Kenny, meets the Sandman, because the man is a hard-working man. All right.
Oh, and don't forget to hang in to the end of the show to see the sneak peek for next 2 weeks' book.
That's right. Genome has 2 really good ones today.
Yes.
So you definitely want to hang out here. All right. So let's get into it, guys. Let's start with the cover. I'm going to go here. I'm going to put this here. Kenny, I'm going to start with you, buddy.
Well, I may need assistance on that because my.
Oh, that's right. Yours is different. All right.
Yeah, well, and just to be clear, we're not, because mine had this one, but you guys graded the other one, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, you got that one. Yeah. I think there was actually more copies of that one than this one, but
yeah, you could have gotten either, but I think we should do this cover because this is the one that I showed, and probably the ones that people out there are. I'm going to highlight Genome. Probably yours is a little less glary than mine. So I'm going to put
a little more green screen. I can pull the green screen off if you need me to. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Take a look at my mug here for just 1 moment. And bam.
All right, Kenny. Hit us up. Oh, do I have to put them on here?
No.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Let's see. Actually, if you wouldn't mind, why don't we if you could have Genome take it here first, and I will grab a quick solution for that.
Okay, we'll do.
Thanks.
Hold on. We'll do.
Okay, well, while I'm here. Okay, welcome everybody to the first category. So tonight we're looking at the cover of Archie Meets the Punisher, and this cover is very indicative of the format of this book, and that it's busy. You got these jelly bean balloons back there, but you got the very, very Archie stuff back there, and these somewhat Archie stylized Punisher, but he's not completely. I don't know why, but this Punisher reminds me, and someone could probably help me out here. There's the Japanese art style where they just use one continuous line the whole time. It looks almost like his body and Uzi and all that were drawn like that in this. It's kind of strange, but I didn't like it at first, but I kind of like the look on his face, and he's got a little wave in his hair and all that. I mean, it's definitely drawn to the Archie style, and so I know there's a lot of restrictions in that format. So for what it is, it's probably a pretty good Archie style, and Punisher stands out. He is the proverbial turd in the punch bowl here, right? Standing out at this little slot top going on. But Archie's never been my style, so I'll get that out of the way right now. So, but I'm trying to be objective about it. I like how they kind of fused everything up there. You got the skull and a little bit of Archie going on there. That's a nice little touch. Actually, the singers look pretty good back there too. So there's a lot of detail work in the background, but it's still stuck in the source material kind of style. So, but I guess it's pretty well done for what it is. And I will say, for like not a lot of bends and all that, like Veronica looks pretty good. And I don't know if that's Betty over there or not, but so it's, like I said, for the style, it's not bad. It's not really my cup of tea, but I can appreciate some of the things they did with it. And I don't know about that Uzi though. Even in Archie style, it looks more like something out of Buck Rogers. So I'm not totally sold on that. But it's cool because Punisher's cutting his eyes to the side too. You don't really see him do that too often. And usually his eyes are shown as black, and here they're kind of blue. I'm not sure if they were trying to make him look more all-American to fit in with the old Archie thing. I don't know, but it's not horrible if you look at it the way it's supposed to be, kind of kitschy. But Frank has definitely looked better, and there's some weirdness going on with his arm, his bicep, and all that there, kind of melting into his chest. That's a little bit odd. I went with a 2.5. It's not my style, but I can appreciate what they did with it here. And Frank does pop out here, and it almost looks like he's on guard duty, right? And of course, they say that with the chaperone too. So it's kind of funny, it's kind of cute, it's kind of kitschy. So 2.5. It's not my cup of tea, but it's definitely not like trash. It's well drawn in the Archie style. So 2.5, serviceable.
Serviceable. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice little analysis there. Kenny, you ready? You want me to go to Miracle next?
I am ready. Yep.
You're ready.
I have it just below here.
Gotcha. All right. So we got 2.5 from Genome. Obviously not his thing really, because this is drawn by the Archie artist, but he did come up with some positives. What do you think about this cover?
Right. So overall, yeah, it's definitely completely in the style and true to the Archie style. You have the like most Archie covers you see is Archie with some kind of one-liner on the cover. It's usually like a gag, a joke. So it's very true to the Archie style. Like if you want to see an Archie cover, you want to see him with a word bubble, commenting on whatever's going on in the cover. So it's cool that it's true to the style. I would have preferred if they mixed the styles like they did on the inside, which we'll get to. But so I would have preferred that, because I feel like the Frank Castle looks a little odd rendered like this in the Archie style. You know what it reminds me of is whenever you see like a cameo of a famous person on The Simpsons and they kind of like Simpsonize them. It totally looks like a Simpsonized Punisher, and it looks a little strange. And you're right, the gun looks kind of weird. It's a little busy. I wish they didn't do it at this. This is a scene in the book, more or less, even though he shouldn't be dancing with Veronica, but whatever. A little too busy of a scene. I think they could have done something a little more clever and dynamic than with this. So I think it took a little bit away from it. But I do like the Archie skull in the top left corner, clever mashup thing. So overall, I do think it's a little above average. I don't think it was a home run. I think they could have pulled it off a little better. I landed on a 3.
Excellent. Excellent points, my friend. Excellent points. I have a few that I agree with on that one, too. Well, I'm going to leave it up there because I don't think Mr. Miracle has a copy of this gem. So, no. Dave, you've been back there a little maudlin looking to me. So, what do you think about this cover?
Well, the cover itself, I guess, is okay, right? I mean, it's got the Archie treatment. It's got the classic The Punisher from the Marvel comics on there, right? That's fine. Like Kenny said, the little Archie skull in the corner is kind of cute. Kind of like you can definitely tell it has something to do with the crossover. So that was kind of clever. The rest of it, I don't know, man. Like, I don't think Stan Goldberg draws a lot of guns. Like, spending 40 years in Archie comics, drawing Archie comics, probably didn't get a lot of practice drawing firearms over that amount of time. You know, thinking about how Archie comics are. Little dancing in the background, of course. He's all over that. It is like the anatomy on everybody and his art style, and this cover with, you know, all the characters and everything like that is on point. I cannot bash Stan Goldberg in any way for his illustration, right? That the man is a master when it comes to this stuff. I mean, he was one of the original people to do Fantastic Four #1. He was the colorist on Fantastic Four #1, right? That makes him godhood in comic book. Like, he was with Stan and Jack, and he was like, well, how about we make them blue, right? Like, so we had a hand in the creation of the Fantastic Four. That's where this guy's coming from. So I can't fault his drawing, like, and he's hit that style for 40 years, right? For a generation and a half, he has defined what Archie and Betty and Veronica look like. So that being said, the Punisher here being Archie-ized, as Comichead like to put it, little odd for me, little, I don't know, what's the word, their assistant editor month kind of drawing,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on here? If I saw this and like that, the only thing that's gonna draw me really into this book, I'm not an Archie fan. I know I'll probably take a lot of flack for the fact that I am not an Archie fan. I hate Archie. Always have since I was a kid. So that part of it wouldn't draw me in. Seeing the Punisher's logo there in that Marvel spec, and like, so it's not some sort of, you know, rug pull where they put some other character in their name, the Punisher. I might pick it up and leaf through it. Highly unlikely I would have bought it for $3.95 if I was, I don't know. I don't think I'd have picked this one up based on the cover. The cover was the best score I gave it, and I gave the cover a 2. We'll let the cover go at that. And all those points, you know, go to Mr. Goldberg. And the reason I'm giving it is 2 is it's just so, you're just looking at it like, why does this exist? Like, the whole thing almost makes me angry just looking at it. Like, whose dumb idea was this, right? Like, we'll get to the concept part, I guess, later, but yeah, 2.
All right, 2 from the somewhat salty Mr. Miracle tonight.
Change his name to Morton. Mr. Morton.
Like I said, the cover is my favorite part.
And that's his highest score. So, you know, important of things to come, for sure.
Strap in, folks. We're going to get a big Farland grade here.
Ride, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, you know, you make some good points, I suppose. Not necessarily agreeable to me, but I get it. All right. Let's just keep it right there. I'm not going to bring out my copy to glary copy because, you know, to me, this cover is sort of a quintessential Archie mashup, right, cover. And that is because you're right, the Punisher figure, he just is a little off, right? He's like Kenny said, he's been like Archie-ized or Simpsonized just a little bit. The Uzi looks a little bit cartoonish. You know, the fact that he's leering to his left, you know, like he's looking for something. And he's got that gun prime, makes you think that there's something that's going to happen in here that's going to be kind of violent, which is really not something that usually occurs in an Archie book, other than, you know, stumblings and things like that and black eyes or whatever. So I think it has, you know, that sort of charm. I mean, I think Genome said kitschy. I think that's the correct adjective here. But honestly, I really like the little nuances here. The Archie Punisher amalgamation skull, that's a nice touch. You have the Archie Comics logo and then the Marvel below it, and notice the Archie part is above and the Marvel part is lower. So, you know, there's a little bit of attention to detail. The classic Archie masthead and at that point the 90s Punisher masthead, and the meats is just kind of in the middle. In fact, a lot of the times people say Archie versus the Punisher because that meats is sort of like, it's kind of like in the background, you know. So there's a little kind of a little confusion there if you're not paying attention. I like that you have Josie and the Pussycats back there. You have Reginald, and I'm assuming that is Betty back over there over Archie's shoulder. Yeah, and he shouldn't be with Veronica. Of course, that could be the guy, but it looks to me like that's Archie based on what he's saying there. Yeah, it's a little busy, but it is almost what occurred in a couple scenes in there, and it makes you wonder what is going to happen in this comic, because we'll get to the concept, right? But the Punisher and Archie are just as diametrically opposed as you can on the comic book scale as you can get, really. So yeah, it's a mismatch, which to me this cover kind of gets me a little interested as to what it's about. Okay, not great. Stan Goldberg is like Mr. Miracle said, man, he's a legend, right? But it's not really my kind of art, but it's appropriate for this comic, I think. The Punisher is not totally Archie-ized, but it's just enough where it makes sense to me, right? But still, it is a bit crowded. There's not a lot going on. It's kind of a joke there that it's not really a very good joke. It's obvious. So I like the little things about it, but it's not really, doesn't really grab me, you know what I mean? But it does get the job done as far as my curiosity. So I give it a 3. I think that's appropriate for this cover. And let's exit this out for now, guys. 3. All right, 3. So let's kick it over to this great chat, and let's see. Let's see. Our scores were kind of within a point of each other. Mr. Miracle was the lowest, and I think I and Kenny. Did you give it a 3 as well?
I gave it a 3. Yep.
Okay. So we were on the higher scale, but we want to know what you guys think about this, because sometimes we we've been doing this for a long time, we can be a little bit jaded, you know what I mean? But you guys are coming in here fresh, you got no agenda, nothing like that, so let us know what you think about this cover, and we'll talk amongst ourselves for a few minutes.
Yeah, it didn't really hit me until really staring at it while you guys were all talking of how little Punisher's legs are. They really give him little chicken legs that I didn't pay much attention to earlier.
Nadia Comaneci of covers.
Oh, the perfect.
Give away your age there now, Wayne.
Oh man,
I'm tabulating as we go. That's why I'm being so quiet.
Oh, okay, no problem.
I'm at Bill's number right now, so okay. But anyway, we'll let him keep rolling in. Yeah, I mean, I just try to put myself in the mindset. If I was an Archie fan, I'd probably like the comic cover, right? Because it's in the style and it's got the legend behind it. But I'm a huge Punisher mark. Like, that's like my favorite character. So I don't like him looking kind of Gumby. So,
Yeah, right. Like it's a little off-putting.
It's not the character you do it with. That's like a Spider-Man or something like that. You do that kind of thing with, but not with the Punisher. But then again, this whole book.
The Marvel one, because I think that's the Archie comics.
Right. This is the Archie. Yeah.
The Marvel one was really worse, I thought.
I thought much worse. Yeah.
What a very lazy, boring. Very surprised by that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and a total like ASM 129 ripoff. Like, come on, again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many times have we seen this?
Yeah. And a very bad ripoff. I would have given that one probably a 1.5. It just.
Yeah, seriously.
There's nothing great in there, Matt.
Yeah, there's nothing. To me, there was nothing that really said, "Hey, buy this comic." It's more like, we're just going to throw an homage on here. You're going to get it anyway, and that I don't like.
Yeah, it's a number 1. You'll buy it.
Throwing a 5 at it.
Yeah,
a couple 5s in the chat.
Yeah, there's been more than one.
Yeah, I think Biggie had a good word.
There's been free beer day somewhere.
Biggie used the word absurd.
But I can appreciate absurd. That's fine.
Right. Yeah, not in a bad way. Like,
no.
There's definitely absurdity to it.
No.
Very much.
You got a conclusionary score for us?
Last chance to eliminate anyone. Give you 5 seconds.
Oh, okay. Genome is giving you all a little bit of a break here.
Ever since calculator changed, I don't feel like pulling up Excel. So it's really gotten hard. I have to actually count manually. It's not fun. All right, that's it. So let's see. Give me 1 second.
I think they probably trumped us. Louis, how you doing, Louis? How's Pasco County, buddy? And we got Mastodon in here. Came in late. Matt Woods. No problem, buddy. No problem. You got here late. It's better late than never, as far as I'm concerned.
Yo, Mastodon.
And they come in with a 3.5 in the chat.
Wow, that's what I thought.
Yeah, there's two outliers. Those fives really pushed it over there.
All right. So let's get right into the next part here. Let's get away from the art for a second. Let's go to the story, right? Let's just go ahead and let's see what Mr. Miracle thinks about this. Just just in a morbid curiosity sort of sense. What do you think about this story, Miracle?
What the hell? Right? Man, right from the start, I knew this is gonna suck. Right? I was wishing that I was gonna be pleasantly surprised, but I didn't see how. Right, and there it was. And let me tell you, this story is very much set Archie style. Right, they cleaned everything up. It's really odd. It's just odd to see the Punisher in there. He's not killing anybody. Right, it's just weird. I don't know. I was like, why are you around? Why do you exist? Right, the Punisher's not cool in it. Right, like they take everything that's cool with the Punisher and just kind of like suck it out of him, Riverdale style, I guess. The premise is dumb. Like, oh, I'm here looking for one of Archie's lookalikes. Oh yeah, and you know what that is? That's an Archie premise, man. Right? That's, as a Marvel fan, I'm like, I don't like Archie. And there's nothing personal I have against Archie. He's not real, right? What I have is against the stupid stories that he's in all the time about, Jughead wanting to eat hamburgers and, all of his stupid stuff with Betty and Veronica. That's weird, right? And all the weird stuff they do. Dialogue is campy and dumb, right? Like some of the stuff the Punisher's saying is just so outside of what the Punisher would say, right? I thought, maybe Microchip was a little bit, but I've always thought of, Microchip's a little more of a, laid back, cooler guy. Well, not a little bit, a lot more laid back and cooler than Frank Castle is. And why did they have the Punisher throw a cake and hit the bad guy with a cake? Right? That I was like, I almost stopped reading. I was like, okay, I don't even know if I can make it through this stupidity in time for graders notes, because I don't know if I could take this. I slugged it through. I read it right to the end, but I was like, man, like every campy little thing, every tropey little Archie thing that they could throw in there to trip up the Punisher. And the Punisher's like, golly gee, like, I kind of identified with the Punisher a little bit in this book, because he probably felt like I felt when I was reading this book. Like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Right? Why am I being forced into this? Right? And then, did not like the story. I thought it was stupid. Thought the premise was stupid. The Punisher, pointing guns all over the place in Riverdale and stuff, and everybody's just like, yeah, it's cool. It's the Punisher, except for Archie. He's running around like an idiot, yelling at everybody, the Punisher's gonna kill me. No, we all believe you there, Arch. Like, lame. Wasn't happy with it. Not happy with it. Gave the story a 1, and probably should have given it a 0, but there was a couple little spots where Microchip was all right, but other than that, no. Oh, and did I tell you I hate Archie? I know it's yes. It's one of Kenny's favorites, but no. Anyway, 1 from the Miracle Man.
Wow. Okay. Well, I must say I'm not totally surprised. When I first read this issue, I have all 3 of you in mind, and I give my own grades that I think you would give. And that's what I thought they would give us.
Did you? Yeah. So far, you're pretty close.
Huh?
So far, you're pretty close.
So far, I thought you would be a little higher in the cover, but you the story, I figured it was a 0.5 or a 1. All right. That's enough of my predictions here. Kenny,
Yeah,
now that we've gotten through the salt,
yeah.
are we going to go through a little bit of sweet or a
Yeah.
little bit of bitter?
We'll see.
Let us know what you
who
think
knows?
about this story, buddy.
Yeah, and I think I could use the assistance with that as we go through some of the story.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can make this a little. Does that make it bigger? Let's see. Not really. It cuts it off. Okay. So I do disagree quite a bit with Mr. Miracle's assessment of the book, I'm not like a big Archie fan necessarily, but I think you are definitely really ragging on an Archie book for being an Archie book. You know, it's gonna be a lighter tone. To go, you know, I think that if this book was filled with literally Frank Castle putting bullets in Riverdale people and cussing or whatever, like it would have been too much Punisher for the Riverdale setting. And I think that this book struck a really good balance of the two. And the art really reinforces that, but we're going to, it does affect the storytelling, but we're talking about the writing. I mean, the one thing about the story in this case is like you're signing up for Punisher Meets Archie. So there's absurdity to it. It's a tongue-in-cheek book. So you kind of got to, you know, considering what the mission statement is here, it's almost like Archie meets Frankenstein, right? It's Punisher is being put into this world as, you know, the other, you know. But I don't think as far as that goes, the premise is that bad. There's a dude that looks similar to Archie who's going after, and that's how he gets on his tail. I mean, if you're a writer trying to figure out how you're going to navigate this story, that's about as good a premise as you're going to get. I think some of the gags and the humor in it is, I don't find it cringy. I think it's pretty decent. I think the dialogue of Frank, when you cut to these panels here, where it's drawn in Marvel style, I feel like they stay pretty true to Punisher. And likewise, when you get into the Archie style, and just to show that this isn't like just a complete like ham joke book, I thought this page was awesome. This moment of Punisher arrives at Riverdale, pulls up with Microchip, and he sees this family walking in the park, and that caption says, "This is Microchip commenting his narration." He says, "It was an odd sight, but I saw it with my own eyes. There he was, Frank Castle, looking at the way it could have been." Like that's pretty clever. Like to put Punisher in this wholesome world. You know, he's not surrounded by the New York City of Marvel, where there's gangsters and thugs everywhere. He's like looking at wholesome Riverdale, and like, I thought that was a good moment of depth. Like, I think they're respecting the Punisher source material when they do stuff like that, frankly. And you know, it's that sentiment pretty much maintains throughout. I mean, yeah, it's an Archie Punisher mix-up plot, so yeah, the particular beats of the story is, you know, what you're gonna expect. Moments of mistaken identity, you know, Archie getting into trouble, but it does cut to Punisher plotting his next moves and stuff. All pretty legit. I do think that the prom moment, the story turns a little bit into a mess. Visually, it turns into a little bit of a mess, and even story-wise, there's a lot going on. And I think that gets clunky. That got a little like tedious on some of that. But you know, Punisher's slugging fools. Yeah, he throws a cake at a dude. You know, that's all right. We're talking absurd here. And the last thing I'll say on the writing is, when what I thought was legitimately funny and clever is when you get to towards the latter part of the book, we've been getting the Punisher monologue, like the war journal. And I laughed. I legitimately kind of chuckled out loud when you see towards everything's resolved and Archie's reflecting on it, and it says Archie's war journal. And they do an Archie like reflecting on the situation, and they called it Archie's war journal. That was funny, bro. That was funny. And then they also do Betty's diary at the end, which I think was intentional as like a play on Punisher's war journal. Another gag. In that moment at the end, the teaser, I don't know if I should spoil it, but they even give you a teaser at the end of a possible future crossover. With potential, is Jughead a mutant? I don't know. But that was clever writing. That was cool. So this book was, in summary, this book was, I think, treated with respect to the source material. I had a good humor, some cool moments that took things seriously, like that moment when he first arrives at Riverdale. And dude, I gave it a solid 4. I thought considering what the mission, once you get past the absurdity of what the task is, they handled that task about as good as you can. 4.
Nice, very nice, very very nice. Wow, that's a large chasm.
Nice. We're talking about 4.
Yeah, between Kenny and Mr.
Unbelievable.
Well, let me go next because I think Genome went first last time, so we'll let him be the caboose this time. This comic, let me just tell you what this comic is. It is absurd. It is tropish. It has every kind of foreseeable plot element that you can possibly have. It has a very neutered Punisher. It has a very bumbling cast of Archie, Riverdale characters. It has a crushing, Mrs. I forget what her name is, the teacher lady who's like has a crush on the Punisher.
Miss Grundy.
Gundy?
Miss Grundy.
Oh, Miss Gundy. Okay. We have an Archie doppelganger of sorts with buck teeth, like he was, in the early Archie times. It is absurdity to the nth degree, and it is fabulous. Let me just tell you that. It is absolutely a breath of fresh air. I went into this thinking, man, how are they going to make this really work, right? I mean, these two characters, I mean, it's like oil and vinegar. I mean, it's just, there's no way they're going to mesh in any way. And they don't really. I mean, but that sort of is the sublime subtext of this comic, right? Is that they are so different that they don't really try to make them as a relationship. They sort of make them as a polar opposites, but with certain little penumbras shadowing each other that overlap and have some kind of way of meshing, right? But only on a very tertiary way. And I'll give you examples, right? When we start here, the first few pages are, pretty straight Marvel. I mean, Punisher's after a guy, he's shooting to kill, the guy gets away, he's, and then we have the next is the Archie part of it, and he has his little time, where he is in trouble, but he gets splat. They make it seem like it's the Punisher about to shoot him, and it's actually a kid with a water gun. So that little transition there, I thought was foreseeable, but it was just that kind of classic turn on your head thing that it's there, but you still chuckle. And throughout we have so many Easter eggs. There's a scene in the prom where you have Patsy and Hetty, Millie the model. You have Sabrina talking about Doctor Strange. You have, like Kenny said, you have, Archie doing his best Punisher war journal and Betty's diary. And then that little teaser at the end. Oh, also that the Punisher says he's going to Gotham City, which is actually important to things to come because he does cross over with Batman.
Oh, really?
Sometime later. Yeah.
Oh,
So-
right. Frank Miller.
Yeah. So again, I mean, all these kind of little nuances in here, you know, and the fact that Punisher goes in there and he wants to, he's working for the government, which again doesn't make any sense. I mean, he's a serial killer, right? But he's working for the government, so he's not gonna. He doesn't want to kill this guy. He wants to get him so he can be inform on some bigger fish. And yeah, when he sees that idyllic looking town, and he thinks, you know, if my family hadn't been murdered, you know, I could be living in a place like this and settle down and be happy and be content. And he doesn't want that to be despoiled by these thugs that are looking for the Red Fever and Red Fever himself. So yeah, it's nonsensical, but it has some logic to it that, you know, and that Archie universe logic, it makes sense, you know. And there are, you know, points where, you know, it's chuckling, you know, you got Reggie who's a coward, he's hiding behind, you know, the benches and all this, and you have Jughead who's only thinking about eating, and it's just a roller coaster kind of story that had me really involved. It wasn't necessarily well written. It didn't have to be, because it was just that kind of crazy, zany fun that comics sometimes are missing. And this one, I think, hit it pretty well. I'm not going to get into too much. I'll leave a little bit on the bone for Genome, but I'm with Kenny on this. I thought this was, you know, way above average. I had a heck of a great time. It was a read that had me involved. So yeah, I gave it a 4. I thought it was pretty darn good.
Man,
All right.
oh,
I'm not
man.
crazy.
You are crazy. You're agreeing with Roger. How can you say that?
It doesn't mean they're not. It just means that I'm joining you.
That's one of the classic symptoms of being crazy.
Look at Unruly here.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'm a bit naive like Archie, aren't I? All right, let's keep going. Let's keep the feel good coaster rolling, or let's just stop it right there. Genome, let us know what your analysis of this is, buddy.
Your analysis. Well, that's kind of appropriate for some of this book, but okay, I am going to try to be objective once again and pretend I was the target audience for this book. I really wasn't, other than the Punisher being involved, and I didn't like a lot of his crossovers anyway, because most of the time the crossovers just did not work well with him. They always stuck him with like Spider-Man and stuff. You know, you can't be sticking him with characters like that. It just does not work. I know there's the whole, you know, the conflict that arises because of his methods and all that. That's maybe somewhat interesting, but now we're talking about Archie land back here, and I'm with Dave. I was never an Archie guy. You know, sorry for those out there who are big into him. It just wasn't my thing. Neither was Happy Days. So I don't know. Kitschy is kitschy, but the story, man, Okay, here's something that no one else mentioned, but I think is very salient. This book was about 10 pages too long. This book took a while to read. There was tons of dialogue all throughout it, and I didn't think it was all that good. You know, not to say the premise and the story wasn't at least interesting, but I mean, just lots of pages like this, just full of dialogue. It doesn't sound like much. This is a 48 pager with like no ads or whatever too. It was draining, man. Remember that Cat 350 we did? There was nothing but dialogue. This reminds me of that, man. It's like, this is not the kind of story. You need to let the storyboards do some of the talking for you. So that part was bad for me. I think the length was way too long. Just give us more splash page or something if you want to fill the pages. But so yeah, the length of it was kind of a bummer to me. They did do some good things. Let's talk about a few good things here. I kind of liked how they did Frank with his war journal style, like inner monologue was kind of cool. Okay, I mean, it wasn't totally him. They had Microchip doing it too, which is kind of weird. He always speaks out loud, but whatever. So that part was all right. And yeah, the whole Archie's war journal, whatever it was, I guess mildly humorous, but whatever. But so that part was kind of cool. And I guess the setup was interesting. I mean, as ridiculous as it is, you know, the reason he's getting to Riverdale and is actually part of the universe that the Punisher lives in there. And I like how they had the Gotham sign at the bus station too. It's like a nice little insider thing there. But man, you just can't do the Punisher in an Archie comic. You just can't. It's too pure. It'd been awesome if they'd made like some mystical aspect, like, there was like an old Greek god that's running the town. He keeps it pure. And like, if Punisher tries to fire the weapon, it just doesn't work because there's some magic keeps it from happening. Something interesting like that. But it's like Frank turns into a bumbling idiot just because he walks into Riverdale, right? He's like the ultimate Marvel assassin. He is not like that, but I know they had to write him for Archie. So you can't take a character like the Punisher and throw him into Archie. It just doesn't work. You can get away with it even with Captain America. He's pretty serious, because he doesn't hurt people on purpose. He doesn't kill people. That's the Punisher's whole id, right? That is what makes him up. So, yeah, I didn't like that aspect of it. They really tried to go for the most oil and water they could do. But if they're going to do that, they could have put a killer in there that fits more into Archie, like Deadpool or something, right? They could have done crazy meta stuff with that, right? I can't stand Deadpool, so good. Stick him into Archie anyway. But, oh, man, it's just... I can give them props for the idea of this, and we'll get into this a little more on concept. The story just was too long. I don't want to see Veronica trying to make Archie jealous with the doppelganger, the evil doppelganger. What was the doppelganger? He was like a drug dealer or something, a big drug dealer. He goes to Riverdale, and just paper thin. I mean, it seems denser than it is because it's long as it is, but there's not really a story here. Like a bad guy escapes from New York, leaves the name of where one of his contacts is in his ball cap for whatever reason. That's how the Punisher tracks him down. Goes to Riverdale, kind of turns the place on its head. But they could have done so many more interesting things, like what was his name, Fangs Fogarty, the bully or whatever. They could have had Punisher knock him out or something, or he could have gotten into a huge brawl with Moose. Right? Moose did throw a punch later on, but it was something different. So many cool ideas they could have had. They could have had freaking. Well, it looks like they were. Betty was making eyes at Frank a little bit, but there was another good point there too. They used Frank's full last name, which you almost never see, Castiglione, which was kind of a nice little nod right there. But yeah, Microchip, and Dave was right. Microchip made a little bit of sense because if you've read any of the Punisher, especially the regular series, not the War Journal, he was like a huge video game nerd. He was a programmer who created video games. He geeked out on stuff like that. So I can see him kind of digging on, let's go to the malt shop, and Frank ain't having none of that. But yeah, nods alone don't make a story good, and I want to give us a serviceable, but I think that's more of the concept bleeding over than the fact this is a good story. I can appreciate tongue in cheek, but it's just not my type of humor in the Archie comics. I'm gonna give this a 2. It shouldn't have been Punisher. It really shouldn't have been Punisher, and you can't make him look. You can't neuter like your A1 killer just to make him fit into the Archie comic, right? He's a stone killer, takes no prisoners, but he's not going to go walk around in a dang gymnasium full of high school dancers or sock hoppers or whatever to catch the bad guys. He's going to ambush those bad guys before they even go in there or wait till the elite. It's just so stupid. I give it a 2. It's somewhat fun, way too long, way too ridiculous, paper thin, but I guess mildly enjoyable. I'm gonna give it 2, I guess. But
mildly enjoyable.
Yeah,
I like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, very well said. Very well done. Very well said. Well, it looks like we're all over the place here. We've got 2 lower and 2 higher. I mean, you can't go by anything. You can't go by generational thing. It's just sort of it either hits you or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of this too is going to stem if you are an Archie fan. If you like Archie comics, you'll probably love this book, right? Or if you're even ambivalent to Archie. If you dislike Archie quite a bit, it's not going to be for you. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a bad conclusion. I am not an Archie fan per se. I mean, I can only take them in small measure. But when I was younger, I thought they were, the bomb, and of course I was in love with Betty and Veronica just like everybody else, So,
yeah.
All right, we'll talk some more, but let's kick it over to the chat. Tell us what you think about this story. If you've read this gem or turd, whichever way that you are, whichever end of the spectrum you're on, let us know what your grade is because this could be very interesting.
Jackson saying that Archie Meets the Punisher isn't fantasy. What more fantasy do you need? That would have been cool. I think that would have been a cool premise. Like there's some great entity that once there was actually a Star Trek episode like this where there was this great super powerful entity that kept the race down there like children. It was like their children and it didn't let them like get technology and it made an idyllic experience. I think that would have been a cool premise here. And like so the Punisher tactics wouldn't work. Like he couldn't use any weapons, so he had to throw things like cakes and pies, in the Archie style. Something.
Oh, where were you in
Yeah,
1994?
the cake thing was a bit much. I will agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a bit much.
Well, everything he's he's going after the bad guys. He's firing guns in a high school gymnasium. Frank's not going to do that. He's firing guns at the bad guys that he let go. Right? That he was like, I'll just tail them. No. Frank does not just tail people to the next guy. Frank grabs him and makes them tell him where he is. Right? And they regret the fact that they have ever been a criminal. Right? There's no, hey, I'll just tail you guys. No, that's not Frank. Right?
He didn't want to turn Riverdale into a bloodbath, though, guys. He didn't want to do that. You know, he felt a connection and another life that he could be living there.
Those two guys would have gotten out of their car. That black van would have rolled up. Frank would have tossed them both in there, and they'd been gone. Like, where's Red? Right?
Yeah, Red was never seen again at that point. So,
yeah, the ending was a little weak too, but you know, come on.
Yeah, I'm not an Archie reader. I guess I fall in the camp of ambivalent, like Genome said. I wouldn't sit around and like read many Archie comics or anything, but yeah, I guess it was a good change of pace, and I think I would have felt like the tone was off if it was too Punisher. You know, I think you guys wanted a straight Punisher book.
well, I mean, it's difficult. It's just such a difficult character to put there. I don't know.
No, it is.
Yeah.
Certainly not.
I'm surprised.
Frank Archie style.
No.
You can't. It's just not. It doesn't work. It's like, I don't know, the Smurfs and Voltron. Like, it's not going to work, right?
Oh, hey, you're onto something there.
Yeah, the Voltron 3-parter over there somewhere. I go grab that one. Was I the only one thought it was too long too? No one else mentioned it, but I thought it was way too long.
Was it ever long? It's like, wow. No, you're right.
I thought it was
going through that whole deal.
Yeah.
And going through that whole deal with Veronica and her dad being a chump, like this guy Red just shows up their house. Hey, I'm a pharmaceutical president. Well, come on in and fuck my daughter, right? Like, sorry, that was pretty much how it
Archie
went.
Archie show.
Yeah.
I know. Sorry.
But
I was just like, man.
Let's get going here. So I think we all in a box right now. So what did the chat think?
3.5 again.
3.5 again. Okay.
What's up, Magic Lasso? Mark Knapp in the house.
Yeah, and we got Ryan in here. We got Mark Knapp, and I think Joe was in here as well. Thank you guys for coming by and supporting the Graders Notes. We really do appreciate it. It's just no fun without you guys, giving us, sometimes correcting, but for Mr. Miracle, no, nothing's gonna change his mind. So.
No, not on this one.
Not on this one. No, it's not on this one. All right, so let's get going, guys. Let's go to the interior art this time, and really interesting. This is not a regular comic that like you would expect, because the Archie part was drawn by one artist, and the Marvel part was drawn by another artist. So you have kind of a strange amalgamation of panels here sometimes. It's sort of like who framed Roger Rabbit, when you have the animated and you have the real life stuff. So who's starting this one? Kenny, have you gone first yet?
No, I don't think I have. Nope.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Pop.
All right.
You should pop that page assistance up for me.
Absolutely. So let's go with the art here. What did you think about this very, very unique kind of arrangement for this comic?
So, honestly, in a word, brilliant. I didn't know what to expect going into it. I didn't know that John Buscema was involved. And was it Stan Goldberg, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stan Goldberg. I was not expecting this mashup like they did of Buscema doing the Punisher stuff and Goldberg taking over Archie. Man, that was a good idea, because when you're in Punisher story mode here, like these opening pages, you're getting, for a Punisher fan, you're getting just what you want. You're not getting that wonky Archie-ized gun like we got on the cover. This is as good of a Punisher page as you're going to get from his main title. You know, I mean, you got John Buscema doing it, so I thought that was fantastic. And when you get into Archie mode, yeah, just switch into the Archie artwork. So I think that was a really smart way to do it. I think when it comes to the art style, I've heard a couple times like, you know, it's not my style. It's not my style of art with Archie's style of art. And I guess that means like cartooning. And personally, I feel like cartoonists don't get enough credit. Like I've always been a big fan of, yeah, like this Archie style of art. I mean, there's so many solid, which I think is top tier illustrating. The stuff from Hanna-Barbera, Disney, guys like Robert Crumb, Charles Schultz, so many awesome cartoonists that I feel like it doesn't need to be realistic comic book art anatomy to be really quality art. And that's not to say that, you know, this particular page, I understand that there's simplicity to it, but I think there's definitely something to be said for quality cartoonist work, clean line work, and cartooning like this and illustrating stuff like that it's a lot less forgiving than when you're doing your heavily detailed, you know, Jim Lee's going to put 1,000 crosshatch lines, and, you know, he can disguise some imperfections and stuff. And when when this guy's out, you know, inking or penciling an Archie page, it's tight, clean, and intentional. And we need to put some respect on that. Thank you. So I think that, like, this page was great. Great Buscema when he's looking into the park. There's moments where it doesn't fit very well. So, like, there's one page that stuck out, and I'm like, ooh, that was kind of a miss. When it definitely has, like, the Roger Rabbit vibe. This page right here. Punisher, Buscema style, face-to-face, Archie, same panel. Because a lot of times they're not side by side a lot like this. Mm-hmm. And, like, it would have been awesome, this page, but the proportions are off. Like, Archie is so huge in that corner compared to the Punisher. Like, it was kind of a letdown. If they made Archie 25% smaller in the corner of that page, it would have looked so much cooler. Like, we want to see Punisher tower over Archie. Like, come on, man. Like, he's so huge. That panel is such a disappointment. Because the lead up to it is great with the eyes. But that was a letdown. That, you know, they could have did better. And I think this is cool because they're each drawing their own characters. But I suspect that this page, I think that top left panel is a Buscema Archie. I think these two panels here are Buscema Archies, which I think is pretty cool because you don't see that every day. So a little Buscema Archie there, pretty sweet. But yeah, the Archie stuff looks like it's supposed to, and the Punisher stuff looks like it's supposed to. Great stuff. You know, what more can I say? Like, I love this page. You're going from this colorful Archie stuff, and then when you hit this Punisher page, I mean, that's a true blue pun. That's right out of War Journal Run. The dark shading, the color palette, brooding Punisher, heavy shadows. Like, I guess it's a little jarring. I mean, I'm reading it on digital format. I don't know if, as you're holding the book and you're turning page to page, if it's too jarring or off-putting. You know, I don't know. But when I'm looking at it page by page like this, I didn't feel that way. I thought it was cool, and I think it helped keep both characters and storylines true to form. So I think that was well done. And the last thing I'll say as a critique is, just like story-wise, the party at the end, I must have passed it. The prom at the end is a bit of a cluster. It's a little too busy, and you know, there were some misses in those parts. But overall, man, dude, brilliant. John Buscema doing Punisher, staying on Archie. Everything's looking clean. I don't think this was lazy. I don't feel like this is a cash grab lazy book. I don't feel like that. I think you had two guys that were into the project. A really cool cooperation between two artists. That it's interesting. You can't deny it's interesting. I also gave it a 4. I thought this was The art was really interesting and well done. 4 for me.
Wow. Nice. Very nice. Very nicely analyzed there too, my friend. Very nicely done. I always look forward to your art sections because you really deep dive into those little nuances, which,
Thanks, sir.
I love all those little picky-uni things.
I'm ready to have my points smashed upon by.
Yeah,
let's
just
see,
wait.
Genome, are you next or am I next? I always forget.
Whoever.
Oh,
Doesn't matter.
Let's go with you, Genome, for now, because I think it would be you next, then me, then Miracle.
Okay. This book is definitely higher on the Archie art style than it is on the Punisher one. And you probably never thought you would hear this from me, but I don't think John Buscema was the guy to work on this one. I think this was getting in toward the tag end of his days, wasn't it? I think this was getting towards the end of when he was doing the artwork.
94, yeah.
I don't like the way he does Punisher. He looks too much like Conan for one thing. There's like this one panel. I keep coming back to it, and it's really bugging me, man. It's let's see if I can hold my finger. Look at the Punisher here. That's just freaking awful, man. Shapeless. They put him in the gym sweats or whatever. I know it was kind of a larf, but like his arm is too long and big. It just a lot of that going through here. The skull on his chest doesn't look right. I'm not going to be knocking the Archie because everything in Archie style looks perfect. I mean, he's a master at this. But I mean, I'm trying to get a good frontal shot here of Frank and the skull. But like, you can tell that he's definitely channeling his Conan days because even the bad guys look like generic Conan bad guys. Like this silhouetted panel. Sorry, like right here. Those are prototypical Conan bad guy faces. You can just wrap some scarves around them somewhere and take their shirts off, and that's a Conan bad guy. But it's like, I'm trying to find a really good one. It's just like he didn't understand the Punisher. He looks kind of simian, like even in silhouettes, like right up here. It just doesn't work. They tried to do like the smoldering, brooding barbarian, and I just don't think that works well for Frank. He's just serious. He's not smoldering or brooding too much, I don't think. Really, really, really sharp looking Archie lines and art though. So I'm going to definitely lean it more towards that. I'm going to give it like a 2.5. Once again, not really my art style. There are some very creative things. And like a lot of people have shown when Frank first gets to Riverdale. Oh wait, here's another classically like Conan look right there. That's freaking just I don't like it. But where was it? The panel where he gets in there. They did some really clever things there with the panels too that no one else mentioned yet. When he first gets to town, sorry, the green screen's cutting out. There's like those are snapshots, like family snapshots of the idyllic life, which is I think is a really, really cool touch. But yeah, that was a really cool panel. Not that it's amazing looking or anything. It's just a really cool page actually layout. But just I don't know. It's okay. But really, really, really sharp Archie stuff. Once again, the Archie style is not my style. Doesn't mean that the artwork is or the artist is not talented. Obviously, super talented, and everything that Archie is involved with looks good. But I wasn't crazy about the Punisher in this or any of the Punisher pages that much. And I love Big John Buscema. Everyone knows that. So 2.5, serviceable. Once again, not my cup of tea. And I don't know if this was a great choice for the Punisher artistry here. You know who this reminds me of is if you ever read or Klaus Janson, when he draws the Punisher, it looks a lot how Punisher looked in here. And I was never a fan of that. So, yeah, 2.5.
Oh, what happened there? I got Kenny on there. Oh, did I get rid of him? Oh, geez. Sorry. Sorry, Gino.
Oh,
sorry.
Was it that bad?
No. It's all right. I don't know what happened. I clicked where I shouldn't click and yeah, sorry about that. All right. Let me go next here. I'm gonna go kind of quickish because I this is a very, very tough for me to judge the art because I mean Genome, I'm kind of in your camp. I don't like the way that Punisher looks. He looks, somewhat Neanderthalic. I mean, it looks like sometimes I get it because he wants to juxtapose him, how different he is from the Archie universe. I get that, right? But then you got, I think the inker is trying to sort of neuter him a little bit here and there to sort of, especially when they're on the same panel, then he looks kind of more in the Archie universe. And I'll show you where, like here, when they're side by side, it looks just odd to me. The square kind of the dark shading, and kind of like, again, he looks like like is that simian like, and then you have the very, very cartoonish Archie, like even more than throughout the rest of the book. So when they're side by side, it is a little distracting. I have to admit that it does get a little distracting. Yeah, I mean, the way that he draws Microchip's head, it's like, it looks kind of like a cantaloupe sometimes. I mean, it's just has a weird shape to it. I don't know if you guys noticed that, or is that just me? But it looks just odd. It's like oblong almost, like. I don't know. It is a little bit weird to sort of see the Punisher in the Archie universe graphically, because it's just such a jarring difference. I think Palmer tried to sort of neuter him a little bit, or kind of like try to transition him a little bit so he's not such a hard line. But now when Genome was talking about those Conan bad guys, those generic Conan, yeah, you got a point there, buddy, because that's I've seen that in Conan comics for years from Buscema. Like this one here, when he's with Mrs. What's her name again? Miracle Grundy.
Yeah.
Grundy. Okay. It just looks odd to see such a long, almost like Pinocchio nose, and then a straightforward, but kind of barrel-chested there Punisher. It just, when they're on the same panels, it's just odd to me. Again, I think Palmer did try to sort of, soften him a little bit here and there so it wouldn't be so stark, but it ended up really diluting Buscema's pencils a bit, in my opinion. Like some of but there are some good things in here, though. Certainly, I think the Goldberg parks are pretty darn on point. I like his shading, like this action throw there by Buscema. I thought that was great. I don't like the cake part, but I think that's a great action pose, which you don't see a lot of that going on in here. Usually, it's kind of like just some shooting and ducking and cover and things like that. So I do like that kind of stuff. But I don't know. It was just a little off-putting. It gets the job done, and certainly the Archie Goldberg parts are really well done, I think, considering that he has to also sort of form his art so that the Marvel artist can come in and add to it, or vice versa. I think he does a pretty good job of that. I like the Archie doppelganger there. He made some kind of like a little more sinister, a little bit thicker, so that we can tell it's not Archie, but a lot of others in the comic can't really tell. Yeah, I can't go 4 on this, man, but it was a little too distracting to see the Buscema pencils kind of watered down. I think Palmer did a pretty good job trying to make them sort of seem like they're in the same universe, but I don't know, it didn't work all that well, I thought. So I still think that it tells the story well, and I think the Archie part is good, so I'll give that a little bit of a bump. I'll go 3 on this, but I'm really don't have a great a deal of confidence in my grade here, because I'm just not too sure about how I feel about that diluted Buscema stuff, especially, and Palmer trying to get him into the Archie universe. I thought that was just a little bit disconcerting here and there.
A little bit,
yeah. Okay, well, it's the time you all have been waiting for.
Everyone put on your safety goggles.
I guess I get put on the spot all the time. Now look, these two guys are the masters of this genre. I mean, John Buscema by 1994. Stan Goldberg by 1994. Between the two of those guys, I'm sure they have over 100 years experience illustrating comic books by this time, right? Both of them Hall of Famers, right? They're both into the National Hall of Fame of illustrators or whatever. However, their two styles are so far apart. They're as far apart as Archie and the Punisher, and it's jarring to me to jump back and forth like all the time. Like, oh, I'm in Archie land. Oh, I'm in Punisher. You know, John Buscema. He's like, you look at some of the panels in there. I don't know if you could throw that up. No, it's okay. You know, there's really dark imagery from John. People in back alleys. People holding guns, right? And then all of a sudden it flips to like if you're rolling down, like where they're running around with like hearts floating in the air or like little puffs of dust coming off of their tracks as they run away and stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's just, it throws it like in and out of this whole thing. And you're just like, fuck, what am I reading here? Why is this? Like, if you had totally done this whole thing Archieized, right, with Punisher being the Punisher, but Archie style had all drawn by, you know, Stan Goldberg. Then put out the Marvel issue, maybe it was all drawn by John Buscema, right? And we had a realistic looking Archie. What would happen with that kind of stuff, like Buscema style? But to put the two together, I did not work for me. I think right away, like the first thing that everybody does, of course, I scrolled through, took a look at some of the illustrations right away. I was like, what is going on? Like right away I was jarred and I was like, I don't like this. Right. Like already I was just like, so maybe that's why I was being so hard on the comic, because right off the stop, like Kenny was saying, it's kind of jarring. And to me, I just kept feeling like I was being pulled one way and then pulled the other way. And then a lot of the imagery was weird and inappropriate for an Archie comic, or way too much or way too played down and, you know, pussycatted out. Yeah, you know, put that in there just for you, like Josie and the Pussycats, right? With Frank stuff, right? Like it was just like, it was not, I don't know. I would have, if they wanted to do this crossover, it was dumb already, but I mean, I would have really liked to see two separate issues where you know, Stan took a whole stab at the whole thing, did it his style, and another issue that came out in the Marvel, not just with a different comic cover, but a John Buscema doing the same story, right? And see where those two guys would have landed, how that would have landed. I think that I would have enjoyed the art more if it wasn't this back and forth bit. And if it was kind of back and forth, and we've seen lots of comic books where they change up artists in there, right? And you can tell lots of times, but you're like, wait a minute. Sometimes artists are so good with one another. You're like, I know it's switched, but it's still so good. It's like, the art just flows by me, right? And I had to kind of take a second to realize they even flipped because the art was so good with one another. This one, the styles are so different that it's just like, I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't feel it worked very well at all. You know, that being said, you know, John Buscema is probably my favorite comic illustrator. I mean, him and Jack Kirby are right there beside each other in my book. Nothing but respect for Stan Goldberg and all the things that he accomplished as a comic book illustrator. And like, he's a master. Like, there is not a finger out of place in any of these guys' drawings in this whole thing. It is absolutely illustrated well, really well. But it's just so jarring for me. It just kept pulling me back and forth that I gave it a 2.
2. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Well, I don't like that. I don't like that cartoony style, man. To me, Archie is like.
Go ahead.
Archie is like a comic strip out of like a 32-page comic strip out of the funny pages. You know what I mean? That's what Archie always reminds me of. That's one of the reasons I dislike Archie. Anyway.
Yeah, no, you're right there. You're right there. I thought it was a little bit off-putting and distracting here and there, but not to that point. But it looks like we were all over the place on this one. I think we all got different scores. So
yeah, and fair points across the board, I think, actually.
Yeah. No, I did not mention the shield at the end. Yep, from the Mighty Crusaders, he was there. Spider-Man was in the balloons and all that stuff. We're going to get into the concept. I'm going to talk about that a little bit as well.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's kick it over to the chat. What did you guys think about the interior art here? You got a lot of input here on our end, so we'd like to know what you think because we're all over the place on this one.
That's true.
So, so let us know what you think.
You want a good example of what Dave was talking about? It's hard to tell. I have to do it reverse.
Hold on, let me make it big. Hold on.
While we're waiting for scores to come in, like you go right from the Archie slapstick here. Looks almost like what was that? Wimpy from Popeye. Looks kind of like Wimpy with Popeye with the clouded dust, and then you got like this complete simian Punisher down there, and there's Archie with a knife at his throat with an obvious Buscema bad guy. So strange, man. It's just back and forth like that.
First weapon Frank eyes in that scene, the cake. Right, he's got a knife to his throat. Cake him.
Go to the cake.
But and like I said in my review, the Archie stuff is spot on. There's not a panel that's pure Archie that I didn't like as far as the Archie style goes. Not that's my style, but so
these two guys are amazing illustrators. Like not trying to take away anything from either one of them. But I really would have liked to seen them each do the whole issue. That would have been cool, but didn't happen that way.
Yeah, that would.
Here's a good comment, guys. For Daryl here, I feel like I have to 4.5. I feel I have to justify. I like vintage hand drawn and inked art. Yes, there are mistakes. Some things are too big or small, but that's okay. Again, that's because our focuses are all different, right? And for him, that wasn't a distracting thing, but for some of us, it was.
And I didn't see a lot of mistakes. I wouldn't say like this guy has got really wonky legs or anything like that. There's none of that in there, right? These two guys on point with what they're doing, but what they're doing just didn't jive for me, you know.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, the Roger Rabbit comparison was really spot on, Roger. That really describes it well.
And I think you're right too, Kenny. I think there's a couple instances there where it definitely was Buscema doing Archie in there.
Yeah. And honestly, I hate to say it, I prefer it. I thought the Archie was a little cooler when Buscema did it.
Yeah, there are points where I was like, yeah, that's definitely not Goldberg, you know, because that Archie Dan DiCarlo Goldberg in the previous is very. It's almost like the Marvel method, but much more cartoonish, obviously. And there were cool aspects like that in there, but sometimes when you're trying to do it and you're trying to do it in a kind of tongue-in-cheek method, and that you have a serious pose there, sometimes it doesn't work that well.
This is a tough one. I'm not sure where to round this one. It comes out to a 3.6875. It's almost like a little closer to a 3.5.
3.5, yeah. It has to be above 3.75 or so for it to round up. Yeah.
No, it is. So.
Yeah, 3.5.
3.5
Okay.
That's the third 3.5 tonight, by the way, from the chat.
Oh, really? Oh, that seems to be the order of the day.
Yeah, I'm filling out the rest of it for you guys. That's it.
All right, let's wrap it up with the concept, guys, and then we'll get the overall, and then Genome is on. To me, the concept here is various things, right? I don't think that you can sort of say, because Archie and Marvel go back to the late 30s, well, or at least their creation, right? They've had ownership changes, things like that. And to take this long to finally have some kind of collaboration, I think I have to factor that into it a little bit, because although maybe we weren't screaming for it, not like DC and Marvel, I still think it's something that's fairly novel and cool on some level. Now, the Punisher probably would not have been my choice for this crossover, but it is what it is, right? And I have to give the concept grade to what's in front of me. I like that they tried a lot of new things, right? That they tried the two artists even on the same panel. I like that there's no ads in here. It's a one shot that happened and it's not in continuity for either publisher. The Punisher is kind of out of character, but they try to explain it away, right? They at least they don't just say, well, he's going to be neutered. No, they give I think a semi-plausible explanation for that, right? Now, yeah, I mean, I know you Punisher guys are going to say, I don't care where he put him in the idyllic thing, he's going to kill him, All right, but at least they gave some rationale here. And I like the little Easter eggs, with the Patsy and Hetty, Millie the model. Yeah, at the end they do they have balloons with both the Shield and Spider-Man. Let me put that so I can show that here. I mean, those are kind of cool little nuances. At the end, the Punisher gets his Riverdale shirt. There's Spider-Man and the Shield there. There's you got Jughead in there, you got Reggie in there, you have a mention of Mr. Doctor Strange, you have the bumbling cops that the Punisher essentially dispatches with like no problems, and yet the chief is lauding them as if he was the guy we were after, he would have been toast. You got to chuckle at things like that. They made it tongue in cheek, they made it fun, they made it light. So I give them credit really for actually doing this, because it actually came out of a joke, right? The two Marvel and Archie guys, just one day just were like, on a con or something, and say, hey, wouldn't it be something if Archie and the Punisher met? And they're like, ah, ha, ha. Here it is. So sometimes some off-putting off the hand comment, will lead to some kind of collaboration and fruition, and here it is. Here's the back cover, by the way. I don't know if we showed that or not.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, I think the concept is actually pretty darn cool. I mean, again, just like the DC and Marvel, we wanted that, but this one we didn't really ask for it, but it's kind of like cool that it actually occurred to me that there is a Marvel and Archie comic that crossed over, and they made it fun. They put a lot of thought into this. I don't think this is something that they just, was a whimsical kind of creation. I think they put a lot of thought into this. Maybe you disagree with, their conclusions or, the way that they came about it. But I think that conceptually, I really like this. I don't like that the Punisher was necessarily the choice, and the two artists in the same panel may have been a little bit off-putting, but still, I think this was a much better concept than not. Give it a 4. A 4 for my Latino friends out there.
Nice.
Or quarto for your Italian-speaking watchers.
Oh, quarto. All right, so let's see. I went first. Gino, no. Kenny, I think, goes next. No, Mr. Miracle, you're next, sir. What did you think about this concept? As if we didn't know.
Whichever. Lame. Stupid. That's what I wrote here. Stupid. If I was the editor at Marvel Comics or Archie Comics, and a bunch of the writers came in and said, hey man, we're going to do Punisher meets Archie, I'd be like, all right. Bong privileges are over. No more bong rips on the roof at lunchtime, guys. You're done with that. All right. Get the hell out of my office with the stupid concepts that you guys are coming up with, right? Honestly, no, I don't know why they thought this would work. You can tell that it's just a bunch of illustrators and writers, and they're just making a joke, right? And I don't know. I didn't like the idea of it. I don't like I know there's some other crossovers, Archie's and Predator. That's probably got to be just as dumb, right? Like, Archie's not a crossover character. You could cross him over with tons of other Marvel characters, like Metarog was saying. I would have been way happier with Thor meets Archie, right? I know the absurdity of that concept is not near what it is with the Punisher, right? But I think, they could have done a lot of good stuff with Thor and Riverdale, right? There would have been a ton of jokes. Like, I think, Thor would be fitting right in, right, with those guys, like Mr. Goody Two Shoes or whatever. But I guess, like, to create that sort of, this is odd, this is weird, you should buy this, weird, right? I don't know. I don't like it. Concept one, stupid, dumb, lame.
Concept one. Wow, cool. I personally think that the Riverdale Gang and a New Warriors crossover would be the best-selling comic of all time.
Oh wow, heck yeah!
With the New Warriors, man, see, they'd fit in fine. I don't like the New Warriors, and I don't like Archie, but I would be happy reading that comic because I think that they could play off each other with their playfulness, right?
Right.
Instead, I think they just made Archie. It was way too violent for an Archie comic and not near violent enough for a Punisher comic.
That's a good point. That's a good point. All right, Kenny, let's finish with Let's go with you next, and we'll finish up with you.
Sure. So I gave pretty high scores for the writing and the art inside. Because I do think that with the task, what these creators were tasked to do, they did a really good job. But I got to be honest, I kind of agree with Miracle. What they were tasked to do was kind of stupid, and it wasn't that good of a. It wasn't like the best fit, I think it was strictly for shock value. I think it's like 94, 96?
94.
94. So I feel like get into the mid 90s, and this is Image, busty babes, super muscles, extreme, everything's extreme, flimsy stories, whatever. It's action, it's booty, it's boobies, kind of thing going on in comics. So I don't know how well Archie was selling at the time or whatever, but I feel like it was influenced by that. Like, what's the most extreme? We want to cater to that kind of sensibility. What if Archie meets the Punisher? And there's the absurdity part to it, but they're not the best fit. It's still made for like a pretty fun read, but like you would think like Captain America would fit really well in an Archie book. I always picture like Archie taking place in like the 40s or 50s kind of thing. So I feel like Cap would have melded there well. The Hulk, or if you wanted to like the Archie meets Frankenstein, like they've been doing that forever. What is it like? The old comedy teams, was it Abbott and Costello that they would mix with like Dracula and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was Scooby Doo.
Yeah, so it's like it's a classic move where you get your comedic team with like a horror thing, like the Man Thing or something. So they kind of did Punisher in that vein, and there is something to be said for it. You can't go Punisher enough, and you can't kind of go Archie enough. It's a weird mix-up, but still, I still think they ended up with a good product. You could only make this a one-off. Like, I wouldn't want to sit through issue 2 of this. It's kind of just like, whoa, what the hell's going on? Like, I was surprised by the fact that I was reading Archie and Punisher, and I was really surprised when I seen what they were doing with splitting the duties of Buscema and Goldberg. I thought that was like really clever, and conceptually, I like that. I get that it's jarring, but it just made it entertaining. And we're here for the novelty, so give me the novelty trick with the art, and and leave it at that. So yeah, I do think it's not the strongest concept, but they, I get it. It was good enough, and it's a little above average for me. I also I gave it a 3 for the concept.
3, very nice, very nice. We've our grades are all over the place again. This is.
What was your score again, Dave? Was it 1 or 2?
What do you think?
1.
Yeah, 1.
1, 7.
1. And I think he was really considering lowering that. I think he's being extra nice tonight somehow. Just on the bottom there. Unless that there's just a soft underbelly to Mr. Miracle that he just does not want us to know about. All right, Gino, let's bring it home here on the concept. What did you think?
All right. If you'll indulge me for a second, I have a nice little share screen there for you.
Yes. Sure.
Has to do with a lot of the chat. I was going to actually make that a background, but I couldn't do it. But there you go. That's how you make a ridiculous story with an Archie comic, I guess. But all right. So anyway, on with the show. So, yeah, I know, right? So the concept of this book. Okay, there's a word that we're all dancing around here. It's not used much anymore, but it's kayfabe. You don't break kayfabe with some characters, and Punisher's one of them. You know, yes, you have your Peter Porkers and all that nonsense, but it's Spider-Man. Who cares? I mean, he's kind of ridiculous anyway, right? In the way he's written. So don't break kayfabe.
Wait. What is kayfabe? I don't even know what that is.
You don't know what kayfabe? Oh my gosh, Kenny, you want to take this over? Or Biggie's just having an aneurysm right now when you heard that. Kayfabe is how they kept the wrestling business. People thinking it was real for all the longest times, like the 90s until it all broke out. But they would literally they would fire you and ostracize you, move you out of a territory if you broke kayfabe. I mean, it was a huge thing. You didn't do it. John Stossel got his eardrum busted because of it. Look up that one time. So yeah, they guarded it very, very jealously. So at this point, kayfabe wasn't dead totally, but the comics market was crashing and burning, man. And the writing was on the wall. And I have to ask myself in the concept, this is something that like you said, a group of artists and writers got together at lunch and said, this would be kind of cool. You know, it'd be funny. But who is your audience, man? You've got to sell books. And who is your target? Is it the Archie fan or the Punisher fan? Because you're not going to make either one of them happy. Maybe the Archie fan would be a little happy with this because they're used to this kind of self-referential stuff. But you're not going to make any good Punisher fans happy. And you don't break kayfabe with Frank Castle. He's just too serious a character. He's got actual pathos behind him with the slaughter of his family. It's cute, and I hate to keep use kitschy again, but it's a good idea as a funsy one of, but not something that's going to sell. And I got to look at like numbers. I'm not sure how well this book sold, but I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this one because I want to give it like a serviceable, maybe a little higher because it is a higher concept. You're taking two diametrically opposed characters and you're throwing them into the Pleasantville situation, whatever, right? And yes, laughs might ensue, but I didn't find the book particularly funny, and I didn't find it overly violent. So you try to make everybody happy, and you make nobody happy, I think. And this book is just kind of lukewarm to me, and I just don't know who the target audience was. I think the target audience is for people who like Deadpool humor, and no offense if you like Deadpool, but you know, the self-referential larking and saying random stuff, you know, and thinking that's the height of comedy, and I just don't think it worked that well. But you know, I'm all for taking chances, but this is a book that probably should have come out like in the 70s or 80s. I don't know, no one knew who the Punisher was, but you know what I mean? It's just the wrong character for it. And I can give them some credit for trying something completely oddball with Archie. And this might be one good thing is this might be a lot of like, you know, later convert comics fans and Marvel fans, their first experience with an Archie comic. So maybe they saw something that they liked. I don't know. Probably not, but who knows? Once again, that's not like a Punisher fandom, but I don't know. I'm all over the place on this. I'm going to give it a 2 because I don't think this book knows who its audience is. I don't think it has a target audience. I think it's just, it's getting people out there for cheap chuckles. They're, hey, I'll pick this. This is cool, you know, but I don't know. It's not enough fan service to both to really justify it. Especially a $3 cover price back then. I don't know. Or $4 for Miracle over there, whatever. But I can appreciate what they did here, but this is like one of those things that's like you gotta tell the artist no sometimes. You know, and it's like, is this book for anybody? And I don't think it is. So I'm gonna give it a 2. It's a little bit high because I think the concept is kind of funny and cute in a way, but not a thing I would ever buy at the stands. And certainly as a average comic person who is ever really gonna buy that. So 2. I'll have to give it.
All right, 2 it is. 2 it is. Genome with the kayfabe education here. I'd never heard that term before, so I'm glad that you elucidated me of that. But I do remember that John Stossel interview though, when the guy came and, oh, is it fake? Wham!
Yeah, he met David Stossel. Yeah.
Oh man, that was.
Or not David, David Shelton. I mean, yep.
Yeah, I was like, did that really happen? You know, I was like, is this part of the wrestling thing again? You know. Anyway. All right, good stuff, good stuff. So let's kick it over to the chat. Let's see what you guys think about this concept. Didn't really have to read the comic to have a concept grade, just, you know, based upon what you see based upon the different amalgamation of characters and choices that these publishers made, you can determine what you think a good or bad concept this was. So let us know what you think, and then we'll finish off with the overall, and Genome will take us home with his next delicious choices for the next fortnight of the Creator's Notes.
Excellent.
Delicious.
He's probably working on the series already. Have you ever actually brought Archie like to the? Is it actually live action showing like that, or
Riverdale?
Yeah.
Riverdale.
There's a Riverdale.
is there?
They made it like a teen drama.
Did they?
Modernized it. Yeah. I guess it's pretty successful from what I hear.
I've never seen it, but I've
Yeah.
seen the little trailers and things. Yeah.
I don't watch TV, so I don't know these things. So
I
I'm not
don't
privy to
either.
such things. So
Yeah, I don't watch TV, so I just watch, like, sometimes I'll watch, like, with my wife. She'll want to see like a show or something, then
Mhm.
come on.
You don't check out the Marvel shows, the MCU shows on Disney Plus or anything, Roger?
Yeah. I like to
I like
read.
them.
I like to read, so that's what I do.
Fair enough. I think you'd enjoy them. They've been actually pretty quality.
I
And
thought
that
I did
last
see the
Loki
Falcon
episode.
and the Winter Soldier one. I thought that was okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
that was okay. But
The special effects of
WandaVision,
Loki.
WandaVision was just way too boring to me. It was just like,
Yeah.
man, what a
let's take a story about superhumans and make it very boring.
oh man. I mean, it was so slow. Oh my gosh.
It started
Yeah, I
out
wasn't too
super
happy
slow.
about it.
Yeah, especially those first few episodes. It's like,
Oh. I could see where they were going, but I'm like, I don't want to go there. It's not worth the price,
That whole show could have been 2 episodes long. I've been fine.
Yeah.
That's the problem with like a lot of the superhero shows that I'd seen in the past, like the Punisher. Like the seasons were like 4 episodes too long. Make it a 3-episode season, and it'd have been awesome. But it's like flashback upon flashback and forced drama. It's like, come on, man, get to it.
That
But
Loki.
they gotta
What
fill
your
the whole.
buddy Matt said there.
You guys would like
you-
that Loki. It's pretty funny. And then like the last episode, the special effects in that last episode were off the hook, man. I can't believe that's like a TV show. The special effects are just like, whoa.
Yep.
Like,
Which one? Which show?
in that last episode of Loki, did you watch it?
Oh, yeah.
The special effects, man. Were just
I
like,
guess
wow.
Steve is watching that show. Okay. All right.
I
Archie,
won't spoil anything. I won't spoil anything. I'm just saying the special effects just blew my mind when I
all
watched
right.
it.
Gino,
All right,
you got the results there, my friend?
If Matt gives us his final score, let's see. He said he didn't want to give it a 5, but I'll make sure he didn't give it another score somewhere up there. Did I get the 2? Yeah, I did. So Matt, you got like 5 seconds.
But the lag.
There's a little bit of he's thinking like possible repercussions here from his buddies for his score. So the Biggie syndrome here in reverse.
4. Okay, he
4,
gave a nice
okay.
realistic score. I can dig with that. And if it was just cooler characters put together, I could see the concept being a 4, but it just didn't work for me. Plus
No.
4.
Oh, man.
Okay, let's see. 1, 2. Got to be. Oh, nope. 3.25.
Oh man,
No,
What
no,
score does that go
uh,
up to? Yep.
3-5. Yeah.
I guess I don't need to tabulate their final score for the
No,
chat.
that's easy, right? That's easy.
I've never seen that before. 3 5s across the board, everyone. In case you think I'm lying.
Wow,
Oops.
cool. That's consistency here from the chat here. Well, guys, let's just leave it here and let's just all go through our overalls. I'll go first just because I'm on top corner. We'll go Kenny, Genome, and then Miracle, which we pretty much know. But anyway, so for me, again, there's a lot of contrasts here. I always give a little more weight to the story than the other aspects and the art as well. Not so much the cover, although I think that was a little bit more than serviceable. Nothing incredible, but it had little nuances that I respected and I thought were cute. I thought the story was, again, just totally tropish, totally insane, absurd, but it was fun as heck. I mean, I can't come up with a better analysis than that. I just had a lot of fun. I knew what was going to happen, but the way it unfolded was just just brought me back to the young Menarog with the starry eyes, and couldn't wait till the conclusion of a comic, and then the next one be coming a month later. This one, I agree. This is a good one shot. I think that this is a one trick pony, and if you take this too far, this is not a series. No. One shot, get it out of there. But I think in that vein, I like the story. I gave it a 4. Art, again, I kind of had that yin and yang thing here. I mean, there were parts that I thought in the Archie Goldberg, which were really well done. But sometimes when they're in the same panel, it was a little disconcerting and a little bit jarring, a little bit just not working well. Buscema seemed to be watered down a little bit by Palmer, which is probably because he wanted it to sort of meld a little better. But like Genome says, sometimes when you try to make two people happy, you make neither happy because you're not being true to yourself there. So I gave that a 3. I did think that the storytelling flowed well in the art, so I give credit for that. Concept, I think I just went through it. I had Archie, Marvel coming together after all those years, two such disparate and diametrically opposed characters. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but it came out of a joke, and they led it to fruition, and it got to a comic. And I thought it worked, pretty well. I mean, considering the limitations and the little bit of the limitations, I'm saying because the arts are so disparate. But I think that still in all, I'd rather this existed than not. And it's still a cool one shot, that at least now we have a Archie Marvel crossover. I think they did do it something later, but this is the first one after 50 years, or not 50, 45 years. So I gave it a 4. So overall, I'm going to go with the chat here. I think that it's, it's a solid concept, pretty good cover. There's no big weaknesses here, but not something that I would say this is something that, I can't wait to another thing happens like this. It's a one shot, and let's keep it there. 3.5.
3.5.
Kenneth, you're next on the button, buddy.
Yes, sir. Cover and give it 3. I thought it had about an average cover. It didn't really impress me too much. It's high on concept, right? Much like last episode's book was high on concept, Marvel versus DC. And I think the concept was much better of, that one. I think I gave that one a 5. And this concept, I think it was, joke, shock value, one-off thing. But where the high marks come from for me in this book is it feels like the people involved cared about it. And I couldn't say that completely about the last one. Killer concept, I don't think the people that were tasked to do it really were invested in making it as quality as they could. And I think these guys were. They got legitimate artists for each. And I know these guys have made I feel like one of their biggest beefs is that Punisher feels too out of character for them. But aside from him being a little less violent, I didn't find him to be that out of character, actually. I thought his inner monologue was okay. And I thought he carried himself fine. I felt like I was kind of reading Punisher when I read him. And same for Archie. So I thought they did right by both characters. By the numbers, I had 4 and 4. 4s for the art and writing, and I had 3s for the concept and the cover. And I'm going to meet them halfway. I'm going to agree with Roger and call it 3.5.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, yours were pretty consistent.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Surprisingly, I was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't either. I mean, but it had some troubling things, but I have to admit I had fun reading it, and that's something you can't really quantify, but it just was to me. All right, Genome, what do you got, buddy?
Oh, is it mine? I thought Dave was going next.
Oh,
okay.
Dave, I'm sorry, Dave. Mr. Miracle, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're last because you got your books coming. Yeah, Miracle, wake up.
No, right. I'm here. I thought it was Dave's turn. You obviously know I'm giving this a 1. Like the whole overall of this book, in my opinion, this is not a book for reading. This is a book for laying down and avoiding at all times. Okay. Just like Kenny said, these guys were high when they came up with the concept, right? It's a high concept, that's for sure. It's stupid. It's stupid. And it reads stupid. And right from the beginning, when you look at that issue, and if you walked into the comic book store and looked at it, and you were like, man, that's got to be stupid. Or how is that going to work? This has got to be stupid. You're right. Trust your instincts, man. Don't buy this issue. Someone gives it to you, you know, give them a good swift kick and throw it back in their face. Just get out of this. This book should not exist. And that is my overall of it. This book should not exist. It sucks. One.
But how do you really feel, Save? I mean, you're so demure in your opinions, you know. Anyway. Oh boy. All right. Thanks, buddy. But yet, you know, you give like that movie a 5, right? The Fire and the what was it called? The Fire.
You don't like that?
Fire and Ice.
Fire and Ice. No, I liked it, but I went on a 5. You know.
Man,
Anyway.
this animation goes with so much better.
All right, Genome. I'm gonna make it big because after this, then you
Okay.
are on with your choices. So give us your recap first up.
Before I do the recap, real fast, I think Biggie had a amazing suggestion for this book, and this book would have been so much better if they would have swapped it. If Archie comes to New York City, and I can see the picture in my head right now, you know, he gets off the bus with, in fact, don't even come with Veronica, come with Betty, you know, the more innocent of the two, right? And they get like abducted by a drug dealer or something, and the Punisher starts hunting everyone down to try to get to Archie. I think that'd have been so much cooler, right? But so that was a good one there, Biggie. I like that. Okay, so for the grades here, for the cover, I gave it 2.5. Solid on the Archie, like everything else in this book, solid on the Archie part. Not crazy about the Punisher, but I could see, I understand he's drawing in the Archie style, but it's okay. It's just okay. Serviceable, 2.5. For the story inside, I gave it a 2. It's just too much Archie, not enough Frank, really. It's just, I don't know. It's just weird. 2, I wasn't a big fan of it. And it's way too long. It's like 10 pages too long. Interior art, I gave it a 2.5. Once again, everything it is Archie is solid as a rock. And this is maybe the only time I have ever not liked Busim art, but I just didn't think it worked too well. I don't know if he understood like the Punisher character because he looked like Conan with the Kevlar on. That's all he looked like, you know, and it just didn't work too well for me. But the Archie stuff was super solid, and there was some interesting panel layouts and some cool ideas. So maybe even a little bit better and serviceable. But and the concept, I gave it a 2. You know, your knee-jerk reaction is give this a high marks for a concept, right? Oh, it's so different, you know, and so wacky, and it's such an original idea. But it's like this just reeks to me of like artist hubris and no one saying no, you know. So make this like a what if or something. Don't make this like a great big giant size special. So I gave that a 2. In my overall score, I let math decide, and it came out to be a 2. Yeah, just not as cool as I want it to be. I was actually kind of excited to read this. I was like, what kind of cool stuff are they going to do? Are they going to turn the whole genre on its ear, at least the Archie genre? But no, it was the opposite. They just brought the Punisher into Archie's world and made him an Archie character. So yeah, no big throwdown with Moose. No real death and destruction. And the final blow was given by a cake pan. So I gave it a 2. It just wasn't my cup of tea. But it was a fun book nonetheless. I mean, to conceptualize. So with that latter dour score, let me go ahead and get on to our picks for the next book. And as always, this is going to be a chat decision. So we pared it down to 2 books and in some order. And guess what? There's like no huge crossovers here or super tie-ins. So first up, we have Cap number 286, one of my all-time favorite covers. I haven't read this book in many a moon, so I'm very curious to get back inside. But some Zach Beatty goodness there. And some Cap in Peril. So Captain America number 286, Deathlock Lives. Or choice number 2, we're going with some Brian Boland goodness. And we're going to look at maybe Camelot 3000, the first of 12. So semi-classic little run there with Mr. Boland there. And I think this is actually where he originated his signature too, by the way, his backwards and or whatever. I think it was because of this. But yeah, so good times. Let your voices be heard and let us know your picks below.
Cool stuff. Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong either way with those picks. I've never read, not never. I haven't read that Camelot 3000 since it first came out, but the art, as I recall, is gorgeous.
Is it Boland on the inside or?
Yeah, I think he does in and out on this. And that's why if you look at like the release dates, like the first like 4 issues I think are a month apart, and then it's like 3 months, and then it's like 5 months, and then it gets like 8 months, I think, between 11 and 12. It's crazy.
Yeah, it took forever.
Yeah. Yeah, but of course the Zek Deathlock. Oh man, that is so good too. I mean, it's like I'm like, oh, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
either way is good. Either way is good. Either way.
I think John said this used to hang in one of the Marvel editors' office. They actually had a poster made of this cover and used to hang in his office or something. But
all right, looks like we got.
I like Camelot 3000.
Camelot, Cap. Looks like Cap's got it, guys.
Cap's like 5 days old. Oh, all the Cap hype. It's fun to see him get some love again. Yeah, only 2 for Camelot, and of course Dave too.
Well, maybe you want to bring that up some other time, Genome, because I think that's a solid pick as well.
Oh, maybe next time.
Let's go with the Cap. Let's go with the Cap for 2 weeks from Genome. All the links to all these guys are below. So for whatever insane reason you're not subbed to any of them, please go ahead and sub them up. But I think all our friends around here, they've been subbed to us for years, so I don't think we have to worry about that. All right, guys. Really quick, anything up on you guys' channels? And then we'll let these guys get out of here. We're underneath the 2-hour mark. So, Kenny is still, somewhat lucid.
Yeah.
So, Kenny, you doing anything on your channel, buddy, or you're just working too hard for that?
Yeah, my channel's fairly quiet at the moment, but let me tell you, I got myself roped into a competition. And it's going out tomorrow night on DJ Link's channel. And your old pal Comichead got himself roped into a rap battle.
Rap battle.
So I'm going to be rap battling tomorrow. Biggie Shaq's going to be rap battling. My first opponent is I'm going to be rap battling against Simple Simon, everyone's favorite Australian.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Simple Simon are rap battling tomorrow night. DJ Link's channel. It'll be interesting. That's all I can say. We'll see how it goes. But.
Wow. Okay, that's definitely something to check out. DJ Links. Yeah, he's done some original stuff. Yeah.
Channel your inner Jerry Lawler and go to town.
There you go. Mr. Miracle, you got another undervalued 5 tomorrow?
You bet I do. Be another under 5 tomorrow, and yeah, that's like really all I got planned. I was just on another guy's channel, Newbie Comics. Him and I had a big discussion about undervalued stuff. That was just late last week, so I think it was Thursday night. What else have I got? Yeah, always pumping out the undervalueds. I got another, of course, 5 undervalued for us tomorrow. And here's my drawing from today.
What art did you do for us tonight?
Yeah, did we get Punisher or Archie? Let me guess.
Did you get Punisher or did you get Archie? Right.
Big screen, screen.
Yeah, put it up on the big screen.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like I'm so enthralled. I was like not listening. Sorry.
Instead, you got Archie as the Punisher.
Oh,
yeah.
Whoa. Cool.
Looks like Betty's giving him an oil check. Look at him.
Like the Betty there.
That is fabulous, man. That is fabulous. You're always throwing us curveballs, man.
That's what these guys wanted to see in that comic. Archie.
Yeah.
As the Punisher. Yeah. That would have been
bad guys come in and shoot up all of Riverdale. They kill Betty. They kill Veronica, and he becomes the Punisher for vengeance, man. How cool would that have been?
Listen, Archie Publications, Marvel Comics Group. If you're watching Graders Notes, and we know you do, you just got your bestseller right there. Okay.
There you go. Archie is the Punisher.
Are you up to anything, buddy, or you're still just doing the editing? I know you've been busy doing that.
I'm just editing, man, between like church, work, editing. Oh my gosh, I am so busy. I don't really have time for my own content anymore. I so rarely do it.
You still do your Friday hangouts?
Yeah, I plan on doing it tomorrow. If I don't get waylaid doing something else. So yes, I'll still try to do that. And I don't know if we're doing.
I'll see a gaming video pop up from you. Marvel Strike Force stuff.
Yeah, every now and then I'll do a video for that, like once a week, maybe once every other week, something like that. But it's just when mood strikes me to actually create something. But yeah, it's been pretty sparse. I may be doing the Saturday show. I gotta get with Bill and Jackson in there if we're gonna do the Clint Eastwood. We got to do Unforgiven, and I should have special guest host in that show. John Beatty said he'd do it with us, so it should be good fun there. So there's a comic tie-in somehow. Never gets that with Clint Eastwood, right? But so there we go. But yeah, nothing really on the main channel.
Unforgiven's a great movie.
It is.
Very nice. All right, so yeah, my channel. I just dropped the roundup today, and there's 5 new contests, including Jerry the Jitterbug is in the chat here. He's got a contest. Magic Lasso has a contest, and there's a clue that you will only hear on the roundup. So you definitely want to see the very first one, which is Magic Lasso's Christmas in July contest, because he's got 2 really nice prize packages.
Nice.
But that's it for me until next Thursday. I'm going to be probably moving this weekend, so I don't think I'm going to be even on the No Faces chat on Monday, because I got a lot to move and a lot to do. But in 2 weeks, I'll be in the new Metacave, and you'll see a little sneak preview of that and Genome's channel in 2 weeks. So be there, because I'm not going to show it otherwise until the next graders knows.
Neat.
So you should have 200 views on that, Genome, no problem.
Or we'll take that. Bolster up my channel, which I'm no longer uploading to.
All right. Thank you, chat, for being here. You guys are the best as always. You're involved. You know your stuff, unlike Mr. Miracle. I mean, I'm sorry. Did that come out?
Oh.
Thank you, guys. And thank, of course, my co-host. You guys are the absolute best. You guys are come up with stuff that I never even consider. So I really do appreciate each and every one of you.
Yeah, this was a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fun one. All right. So see you guys in 2 weeks. Chat. Take care. Be B&B. Be blessed. Be kind to each other. And be back. Bye.
Be excellent.